This is another Flexbox video, and I'm going to show you some of the properties that you can apply to items. The previous one was properties for containers, so have a look at that please if you haven't yet. So here let's have just a little reminder. I added these class. The outer div is the container. Flexbox works with containers and items within the containers. And here I have decided that these three divs inside this container are going to be items. So they have common CSS rules and individual CSS rules. And this is my current rule set. So the first property that I'm going to look at for items is order. So what happens by default, they show in source order. So since they come in this order, item 1, item 2, item 3, that's the order they're going to be shown in. And that's what we see here. Item 1, item 2, item 3. So I want to change that. I want to make sure that this one is always the last one. So I'm going to say order 99. And then let's just save this one. So as you can see, it now becomes the last one. But then I want this one to be the first one. Order 1. And this one, order, I guess, 2. I don't really need to do this one because the other two are already taken care of. But if I save this, I now get item 1, item 2, item 3. And then I could switch that around. I had that before. Let's see, switch that around to 2. There we go. Or I can make, as you can see, I can just change it by changing the number in here. And the numbers, they don't have to be by any means the same. Sorry, they don't have to be in order. Like I don't have to do 1, 2, 3. I can put 99 if I want it to be last, and 1 if I want it to be first, and then somewhere in the middle. I only have 3 items, so it's kind of hard to show you exactly what's going to happen. But there we go. Notice because I have the same item, it goes now in the same order. Let's try this, 99. Save that. Now it's, because these two are the same, it's the first one and then the second one. So you can play around with that. So the next one is flex grow. So I'm going to take out the order so it doesn't confuse things. So what flex grow does is it defines the ability to grow if necessary. So the values are used proportionally. So if everything is 1, then the space, which would essentially be the default is 0. But if everything is 1, if I set them all to 1, whatever space is there will be distributed, the container space will be distributed evenly. But if I set the first one to 1, and then the second one to 2, and then the third one to 1, sorry, I'm keeping up with my typing. The third one to 1, then I will have 25%, 50%, 25%. So it's proportional. So the one in the middle here has twice the space of the others. So let's save this and see what happens. So as you can see, when it grows, as we get to that point, the middle one gets more space. So the next one is flex shrink. So grow was stretching. Shrink is, as you would imagine, shrinking. So let's do the same thing with shrink instead of grow, just to see what happens. Save that. Now let's try and, well, if I grow, whoops, wrong one. No, but then the shrinking. Notice the ability to shrink is twice that of the other ones, but it doesn't affect the growing. So I can do both. As you can see here, I just had shrink, but we could also do both. So as you can see here, I have changed it so that the shrink is the same. So the shrink should shrink to half the size of the other two. And the grow, what I've done is I've made the 2 outer ones. So this should be 40%, 20%, and 40%. So let's see what happens. So we'll shrink it again, shrink, and notice it looks approximately half the size. And then if I grow it, what's going to happen? The outer ones are bigger. So we can do both, as you can see. The next one is flex basis. That's the default size before the remaining space is distributed. So let's have a look at what happens there. So I could say flex basis 5 rem. There, I saved it, made it tiny. Or I could move that here. So, as you can see, that's a basis. Default size before the remaining space is distributed. We can also set flex basis to auto. As you can see here, when we use auto, the extra space is based on the flex grow value. So there's a little graphic here, which is available through this URL, so you can see how the extra space will be distributed if you use 0 versus auto. So now that I've shown you flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis, I'm going to show you flex. So it's preferred to use flex. Flex is a shorthand for using all three. So the way flex works is we have flex, and the first, if we put in just one number, that will be the flex grow value. So let's say in this case I want it to be 2. If I put in a second number, that will be the flex shrink value. This will be 1. And the last one is auto. So this statement here that I just put in is exactly the same as all three of these statements. And you'll find when you're looking at examples that this is what's used predominantly instead of this. So, and it's recommended that you use it as well. So the last two values, oh, and there you go. There you see the layout for it. Grow, shrink, and basis. So the last two are optional. The shrink and the basis are optional, and you can also put in none, as you see there. So let's do this now with all three of them. So in this case, I have 2 and 1, so flex. Grow first, 1, and then shrink, 2, and the last one is auto. Oops, I better get rid of these. And now this one, sorry. So again, it's grow, shrink, leave the other one to auto. So now if I save it, I get the same thing. So it should grow, whoops, sorry, pulling the wrong one. The outer two are growing, and then if I shrink them, the inner one is shrinking, so I have exactly the same behavior, but I've got this shorthand. So remember, it's grow, shrink, and then basis. I think let's try here 5 rem, just to have something different. There you go. So this is preferred. Even though I've shown you all of these, it's preferred that you put them in this shorthand fashion. Grow, shrink, auto. So for the, I forgot to mention it, but the default for this, if you don't put any of it, is 0 grow, 1 shrink, and auto for basis. So that's the default. Zero for grow, 1 for shrink, and auto for basis. There we go. So the final item property I'm going to look at is align self. So we looked at align items, where we can align all of the items inside the container. So that's a property of containers. This will allow us to override that for individual items if we want to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try this one. So we're going to say align items. That's align self, not items. that's a container. For the container would be align items. Align self, flex end. Let's try flex start. And let's save that. So there we go with start. And then I'm going to change the container to have align items, flex end. So we can't really see it for number 3 because that one fills the fills it, but we have for the whole container it's flex end except for item 2, which overrides it. So that's the final one. So those are all properties that have to do with the items inside a Flexbox container.